So what just happened? uh, Episode 5 of Core 4, Thousand Year Blood War was unbelievable. I'm literally tearing up. I just went straight from my reaction on Patreon, which you could watch over there, to here. Um, because I just need to sit with this for a second. Literally tearing up. I don't know what just happened in this episode of Bleach. Because none of it happened in the manga. Not a single moment, I don't think. It was all at least like 98% anime original content, and it made some incredibly bold choices, to say the least. Like, I am shocked, guys. I am trying to process what I just watched. There's so much to talk about. There's so much to talk about. So I'm gonna let's just go through. Let's just go through. Auditions, which was everything. We got to see more of Chad and Ganju versus the Golems, which is, I never thought we'd cut back to that. The manga, we just saw Chad volunteer to fight them, and Ganju showed up to help him, and that was it. Presumably, they cleared away the Golems, like they wanted to, for Ichigo's way home. Here, Renji stops to help them, which is interesting. And he lets Rukia go ahead, which we'll get to. um, and then also, we'll just get it out of the way. There was obviously more Uryu versus Haschwald, because of course there was, because they keep giving Uryu great moments that never happened, but now happened. And their fight continued to be great. A lot of cool stuff with the arrows, where he could like make them form a huge arrow and then like separate and grab onto Haschwald. It was really cool. And Haschwald's whole like he's fighting like Dr. Octopus with like shadow tentacles, and they've given that fight so much more, and it culminated here with Uryu pulling out that glove from the Soul Society arc where you snap off the thing and it unleashes, it takes away your powers if you are wearing it, and cause this huge. He puts it on Haschwald because he realized there's a delay with his future sight, and tricks Haschwald into getting him into a hold, and then he puts the glove on and snaps the thing. That is not how that fight ends in the manga, and I'm trying to put together like how this and the manga are going to, I assume, mesh at some point. We're going to get back to the manga material, but the way a lot of this ended makes that difficult. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to rectify how this and that work. I'm sorry, I'm just shook right now. I am absolutely shook. I don't know what to even say, but we're gonna get through this. I swear. Orihime gets a huge moment early on in this, where Ichigo's got the Horn of Salvation now, he's fighting Yuabaha, and Orihime is healing Ichigo, and then she starts getting attacked, and she's healing herself, she's rejecting the damage, and Yuabaha starts attacking her, targeting her specifically, because he wants to wear out her abilities, so he keeps stabbing her and stabbing her and stabbing Ichigo and stabbing her, and she keeps rejecting all of it over and over and over and over and over. It felt like that scene from Doctor Strange 1, where Doctor Strange keeps dying and then resetting over and over, and it was brutal. Like the blood gushing out, like seeing Orihime get attacked like that. But the part that was great was her resilience. No matter how many times she got attacked and how much weaker she was getting and worn out, she kept rejecting and standing up to a god. It was such a good moment for her, because she needed a big moment. And this episode is Orihime's episode. There's a lot of crazy stuff in this episode. This was Orihime's episode. And you could kind of feel this episode was going to be different from the beginning, because they kind of just really went right into it. Like there wasn't a big, it just was like bam, okay. And Orihime keeps standing up to him, keeps rejecting him, and is being pushed to her absolute limit, and she's thinking about how much she wished she was stronger. Ichigo, what happens first, Ichigo or Rukia? We'll just talk about Rukia first. Rukia, because of Renji buying her time to go ahead, she comes to Ichigo's aid earlier than she does in the manga. Because her and Renji show up a bit later in the manga, which who knows if that's even going to happen now. But I love this change because Rukia, I've talked about a lot for a long time, was like the secondary protagonist of Bleach. She was like the second main character. It was the beginning, it was about her and Ichigo, and she was the one that guided him into being a Soul Reaper, which I love they brought that up, that Yuabaha acknowledged her importance and the role she has played in this whole series and in Ichigo's development. I'm like, yes, we're making Rukia relevant at the end. And she had a great moment or two in the manga, but to have her fighting beside Ichigo against Yuabaha is such a good decision. She uses her Bankai, which we only saw the one time in the manga. She uses the Bankai to help. Her and Ichigo have all these great moments fighting together. They have a great moment where they're arguing back and forth, and it feels like classic Ichigo and Rukia bickering. It was so good. It was so good. And it's what I wanted. I always was like, Rukia was so important. And then while she still got moments, later in the series, it felt like, besides a moment or two, like her big moment in the Fullbring arc where she stabs Ichigo, stuff like that. She's had her big personal development moments, like her Bankai scene, but it felt like she went from the secondary protagonist to like one of the more important of the Soul Reaper cast. She kind of became part of that section of the series, more so than she was like Ichigo's best friend slash Soul Reaper coach. So to acknowledge that role, her importance, how great she is, to show her power as she's fighting Yuabaha with her ice. It was so good. It was so good. I literally loved every second of this episode. And that's not even getting into. We saw a completely new thing, a transformation for Ichigo. He uses his Bankai while he's in the Horn of Salvation transformation, which turns him into something we've never seen before. In the visuals in this episode, by the way, are insane. The whole thing, I was like mesmerized. I didn't say much during my reaction because I was just so stunned by what I was watching. It was incredible. But yeah, he transforms. He gets two horns. His eyes turn red. He's got like flame chains around his wrists and his ankles and his neck. I think his neck. He looks like if the fully hollowified Ichigo that fought Ukiura was mostly Ichigo. Like, his hair doesn't grow or anything like that, but he had like fur around his stuff when he was in that form, and this felt reminiscent of that. Obviously, the two horns. And his sword became, his Zanpakuto took on this like rectangular kind of shape, a different shape than we've seen. It looked amazing. And the visuals for all of this, showing how powerful he was creating like clones of himself, like shadow clone jutsu, multiple man dupes fighting Yuabaha. And there were so many cool moments of just like ambushing Yuabaha and fighting him off and faking him out. And also when he transformed, the moon became like a big visual, which is of course one of the key visuals of Bleach, is like the crescent moon. And that like manifested above him. And, like, everyone was watching above the tower, and it was so amazing. Like, I don't have any words to fully explain how hyped that was. It was unbelievable. It was just, I couldn't believe what I was watching. I'm like, what do you mean you're showing us this? And the whole time I'm like, this isn't what happens in the manga. None of this is what happens in the manga. So how are we going to get from here to there? Because it seems like this is taking us to a completely different ending. which is insane. So that was so cool. Ichigo was the Horn of Salvation was cool in the manga. Like I liked how it showed, the different aspects of him merging. But the visual of this, it felt like a more complete form of that. It felt like the next step, which it essentially was. It felt so right. And then, like Ichigo's power was like really like that was like that in complete control of his hollow powers, if that makes sense. And it was amazing. It was so cool. I was, whoa. Uh, yeah, so him and Rukia team up on Yuabaha, and it's incredible. They're like, wow, this feels right. This is everything I've ever wanted. What does this mean for the end of the series, though? Because this isn't how this fight is gonna end, right? That's the whole time. I'm like, this isn't how any of this ends. There's still not many chapters of the manga to cover, but there's still plenty of big story beats that this would not lead to if we continue down this path. So I wasn't sure what we were doing. The whole time I'm like, I don't understand what I'm seeing, but in a good way. It was like, this is shocking. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, how does this connect to the ending of Bleach? And I only had more of those thoughts as we got to the very end, which brought me to tears. If you watch my reaction, I am tearing up big time. I was emotionally shocked, stunned, unsure of what I was seeing, because despite all their best efforts, where it looks like Rukia and Ichigo and their teamwork as the two big heroes of Bleach, it looks like they're about to succeed, and then they don't, and they get stabbed, and everything's going wrong. They're about to die. It looks real bad. Orihime is spent. She has been healing and rejecting so much early in the episode, and then it turns into this sequence where she's looking at Rukia and Ichigo about to die, and the music kicks in. Her like fairies, her like hairpin fairies start flying around her, and blood starts rising, like she's rejecting that the blood was ever spilt. And she's walking, and it's so dramatic, and I was getting all chills and choked up, like shaking right now. She has this huge moment where she's like walking toward Yuabaha, and she walks through a barrier she makes, like she like envelopes herself in her need to like heal and protect and to reject all of this, like completely. So she's like, if only I was more powerful, which is such an Orihime thing. This feels like such a culmination of everything her character's ever been, that she just wants to protect, but she doesn't want to hurt people, but she wants the power to save and protect her friends, to reject the pain that they go through. So she walks up past the wounded Ichigo. Yuabaha tries to stop her, and she's like rejecting his god power. She's like standing up to a god, this high school girl with hairpins. It's amazing. It's so good. And what I loved about it was that ever since the Arrancar arc, and Aizen made such a big deal about Orihime's powers, that she was interesting, that she could reject phenomena in general, like the potential for her powers was established so well. It was built up like, oh, maybe she's going to reject the Hogyaku and she'll be key to destroying Aizen. That's what I thought back then. Like, maybe she's going to be. Because it was like built up that way a bit. And then it turned out Aizen was using her as bait, but I couldn't help but feel a little let down that Orihime wasn't more important to the end game of that arc, considering where that arc started. That was kind of always one of my big criticisms of the Arrancar arc, was I wish Orihime was more key to Aizen's defeat in some way, and that we got more of a payoff for all that setup about her rejection abilities, but it never really happened. And then this feels like a fulfillment of that promise, that she has this incredible power that she just hasn't fully tapped into. And to see her go up to Yuabaha, who has been established as this like unstoppable, unkillable force, and to see her reject his ass completely, and it seems in sacrifice of herself in order to do it. Like she turns, there's a big moment, she smiles, it's beautiful, and then her and Yuabaha disappear into this blinding light. And she says bye to Ichigo as he's watching helplessly as she disappeared in this beautiful, godly light. And that's the end of the episode. And then it was silence. There was no end credit sequence. There wasn't even a poem. It was silence. That was so effective. It brought me back to my trauma of the Red Wedding on Game of Thrones, where it was just silence afterward, and I had to sit in the silence. So yeah, none of that happened in the manga. None of it. None of it. Not a single event that happened here happened in the manga. So what does that mean? As I'm sitting here still trying to wrap my head around how is this going to mesh with the manga's ending, unless we're going a completely different route, but I don't think we are. I feel like we're gonna still have to end the same way. There are things that happen in the manga that require Orihime. Like, very important things for the future of this world and of some of these characters, and characters that don't exist yet, potentially. She needs to be around. Unless Kubo just rejected Orihime's future in this series. But do I think Orihime is the one that defeats Yuabaha? No. Do I think there's still a few characters that need to show up and fight because there are huge moments in the manga? Yes. So, the only thing I can think of, the only thing is that all of this, the only way this makes sense with the manga and can actually work in tandem with where we know this story goes is if every single scene we saw here, every moment, every hype thing is not going to end up happening. And what I mean by that is that Yuabaha he saw this happen. That this was all a Yuabaha vision. That's the only way this makes sense to me. That this is a future he sees, and he actually sees that this will be potentially a defeat for him, and he nixes this before it can happen. And there's a moment in the manga that could slip into, that they could use this to actually show what he saw, and that's why he disables something before it can happen. Because there's a moment in the manga, a page turn, where something's about to happen and Yuabaha goes, no. No. I saw that, I stopped it. It's not gonna happen. I feel like this is a build-up to that. In a very visceral I don't know a good word, intimate way for us as the audience, that we're in the vision with him and we got to see and we got to get false hope. That's the only way I can see this working with the manga. You know what I mean? Because I don't think this is how this is. We're halfway through the core. There's still 5 episodes. I don't think this is the end. And a lot of these things can't happen for a lot of the manga, but that's the only thing I can think of, is that this is a vision. This is the future. A future that he rejects. And if that's the case, you could make the argument that it's a bit of a bait and switch. You could make the argument that this was all a dream, you know, the terrible trope of like, oh, all this crazy stuff's happening and then someone wakes up. And I'm usually not a fan of that type of stuff. I saw the last Twilight movie with my wife, and I hadn't seen any of the movies. We watched all the movies just so I could experience them, for better or worse. And the one scene that got me super hyped, spoilers for Twilight, was that there's a big final battle. People are dying left and right, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, people are actually dying. This is crazy. And then it turned out it was just a vision that this psychic, clairvoyant character had. Um, which was like, oh, bummer. And then we just don't fight, and we have. But you did get to see a cool action scene at least, which for those movies, it was nice to have a cool moment. But yeah, that was fake. And then there's a movie that came out, I don't know, 12 years ago called Savages that I always think of, where the movie gets crazy. It just ramps up, ramps up, ramps up, and it's all these people dying, and then it cuts to the narrator, the main character, going, "That's what could have happened," and then none of it happened, and it was a letdown. So I could see the argument that this is kind of just a bullshit tease that then gets, you know, pulled back. But honestly, with the way Yuabaha's powers are, I think this is a place where that would be appropriate. Because not only would it show us some great moments with these characters and that, these pinnacle moments for them, but it would also really let us feel Yuabaha's power and his ability to change things and that he sees and avoid futures that he doesn't want. And I know that he hasn't had a big explanation about that stuff yet, like he does in the manga. So maybe this will be a way to further emphasize that for all of us, that he saw that he could have lost this way, but he's not going to lose this way. I think that would be smart, and I feel like that's the only way this works. I mean, it works on its own, but as far as works in tandem with the source material, unless we're completely throwing the source material out. But I don't think we are, because there are still some huge character moments that we need for this ending to feel right. And we need some of these players to be around for that to happen, namely Yuabaha and Orihime, who are gone. It was crazy. It was beautiful. Everything, the action, the animation, the colors, everything was so hype and great and shocking. And I'm still processing, but I feel like the only way this works is if this was kind of bullshit, but in a good way. I think this is the one time maybe where a fake out, this could have happened but didn't, would actually work. So I'm kind of hoping that's what it is, because that would just be, I don't know. But what a moment for some of these characters. Orihime finally got her due. Like this, I loved it in the manga that she was there to help protect Ichigo, that felt right, but to give her even more, to give her a big moment, absolutely satisfying. Rukia showing up felt so right. Fighting alongside Ichigo felt so right. Ichigo's Bankai, insane. Loved it. Uryu's big moment. It was a phenomenal episode. This was, maybe just for shock value alone, one of the best episodes of the Thousand Year Blood War. And yes, it might all be a dream. But what a dream. What a beautiful dream. All right. That's it. I was shocked. If you want to see my reaction, go to the Patreon. I was beside myself for most of the episode. Um, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see next week. But I think this is nonsense. But it was good nonsense. It was great nonsense, and it's a future I would have loved. All right. That'll do it for now. Thanks for being here, guys. If you want to support the channel, join the Patreon. It really helps, and I really appreciate it. And we got so much stuff over there, hours and hours of anime reactions, manga read-alongs. Um, yeah, uh, yeah. Let me know what you guys thought, because this was all new for all of us. Every single one of us. Whether you read the manga or not, I just think it wasn't real. But maybe I'm just in shock that it was so different, but I feel like that's the way you do it. That's the angle to make this work. And to make it even a little tragic, that we could have won. It would have taken sacrifice and bloodshed, but we could have won. But we don't. And I think that's tragic. And I feel like that's the only way to connect this back to the source material. And I love it for that. If that's the case, I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.